Well, thank you, friendship, shalom, and greetings to you all. As we say goodbye to 2018, use the opportunity and do some self-talk that really matters. Say to yourself, I forgive myself for my mistakes. I see my mistakes as opportunities for learning, discernment, and patience. Or maybe tell yourself this, I forgive those who've hurt me. I thank life for giving me a spirit that is forgiving and compassionate. Forgiveness, my friends, is not just a Yom Kippur thing. We saw it with Esau. We saw it with Joseph. And I hope you all see it playing a bigger part in your lives every year. It is a fantastic mechanism that we have, and take advantage of it. And I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas break. And I hope you all have a fantastic New Year's Day, once known, of course, as Circumcision Day. It's an odd day to choose to make the New Year, when the winter solstice actually makes so much more sense. A holy day in any calendar. We celebrate the return of light into our lives and the ushering in of new. And of course, many get to celebrate New Year's twice. You can celebrate based on your spiritual practices, which might give you a new year in the spring or in the fall. And of course, any way you choose to celebrate, it is a miracle do-over. You get it twice a year. So a good year and a good blessing to you all. So let us all gather together to initiate a new year and a new you. And please do go ahead and invite everybody you know, physically, spiritually, psychically, to gather and share from Psalm 133, the Hine Matov. Come together. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community. Together. And friends, as a community, let us all spread love, goodwill, fellowship to the world. We are a community together, my friends, a house of spirit, Beth Ruach. We share our triumphs, our falls, our celebrations, our joys, our sorrows, our gains, our losses, our feelings, because it is a safe environment in which to do so. Now, there's a 13th century poem by Abraham Chazan Gerondi that says, let the year end with all its curses, let the new year begin with all its blessings. Now, many do not know how to take each year. May we hold lovingly in our thoughts those who suffer from tyranny, subjection, cruelty, and injustice, and work every day towards the alleviation of their suffering. May we recognize our solidarity and understanding as instructed in our Torah with the stranger, the alien, the outcast, the downtrodden, the abused, the deprived, that no human being be treated as other. That our common humanity weaves us together in one fabric of mutuality, one garment of destiny. May we pursue the biblical vision of peace, that we might live harmoniously with each other, side by side, respecting differences, cherishing diversity, with no one exploiting the weak, each living without fear of the other, each revering divinity in every human soul as they choose to do so. And may we nurture kindness and love everywhere. Let's strive for that in the year ahead, my friends. Take a moment now to invoke healing and renewal for everybody you know and for the souls and spirits of everybody you can think of. Focus on them. Call their names, think their names. It's not just for people, it is for our pets, it's for the earth. It is the healing of the earth, the tikkun olam, the repairing of the world. That's part of our spiritual genetic makeup. And continue to think of and pray and send love to help renew everybody you know. For Shelley and Steve, for Veronica, for Bob and Rudy, for Ben, for Barb, for Muriel and Vern, for Shana, for Sherry, for Deb, for Melissa. Friends, it is the kindness, the healing wishes, the goodwill and love that we all send out that circles the world, finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care, because the world is a world of spirit, and spirit never dies, and we all need spirit, and we all need renewal. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Mishaberach, let us all have our spirits renewed everywhere, my friends. This is the great prayer for healing, which we call upon God to heal as he has healed before. Mishaberach, may he who blessed. It's all about blessings. So let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy in our efforts to love, to share, to care, to grow, to unite together. All of us, my friends. Now, we had a great change in season ritual last week, and we followed it up this week with a spiritual movie night. We had about 25 or 30 for the change in season night, and another 10 for the spiritual movie night, which we'll be making a monthly event in 2019. And of course, this is the time of the year when we begin to think of the changes that we want to bring into our lives. And it seems that many are not sure where they're going or how to get there. Well, follow your heart's directions. It's the best driver you've got. It will not steer you wrong. Now, just as we've had two tales of creation in Genesis and two tales of the flood, we have a second recount of the death of Joseph. And in the second report of Joseph's death, the focus is not on the mummy in the coffin, but on the dying out of a whole generation, which propels us forward in historical time. We've moved ahead 400 years, and the approach has changed. We now begin to read Shemot, the book of names, otherwise Exodus. And it'll be told from the perspective of one person, a man with no name. This is the book of Exodus, my friends, the book of the journey to freedom and the story of Moses. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz in the sky, no cloud. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. Now there's a new wide-angle lens through which the characters and the events are going to be seen. The narrative moves from the domestic, moral, and psychological realism of the patriarchal tales to a much more stylized, sometimes deliberately schematic mode of storytelling that in a number of respects, especially in the early chapters of the book, has the feel of a folktale. The general rule in Exodus, and again in Numbers when the story continues, is that what is of interest about the character of Moses is what bears on his qualities as a leader. His impassioned sense of justice has easily ignited temper. His selfless compassion, his feelings of personal inadequacy. Now, as you will see, God in Genesis, as one can detect in glimpses of him in the garden story, and as one can see quite clearly in his encounter with Abraham, walks about the earth looking very much like a man, indeed being easily mistaken for a man until he chooses to reveal his identity. And at some point, engaging a human being in what is clearly represented as face-to-face conversation. God in Exodus has become essentially unseeable, overpowering, and incredibly fiery. Barriers to access accompany him everywhere. God in Exodus has become more of an ungraspable mystery than he seems in Genesis. And as he moves here from the sphere of the clan that is at the context of the patriarchal tales to the arena of history, his sheer power as supreme deity and his mercilessness against those who would thwart his purposes emerge as the most striking aspect of the divine character. Exodus introduces us to a lot of things. It introduces us to the nation of Israel. It introduces prophecy. It introduces law. And arguably most important of all, it introduces the theme of God becoming known to the entire world. In Genesis, he was only known to specific individuals. Well, the first half of Exodus is a very compelling story that moves from enslavement to liberation to epiphany. And its first 20 chapters presents a grand narrative sweep that culminates in what is, at least in national, historical, and theological terms, the great climax and point of reference of all biblical literature. The revelation through Moses to Israel of the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai. And I have here my new little friend, Esther, who's busy destroying things. Sit, baby. Now, the narrative is organized around three defined spaces. Egypt is the place of bondage. The wilderness, a desolate, hard space where freedom will be realized and new obligations incurred, where a tense struggle is going to break out between leader and people that plays out as part of the initiatory experience of nationhood. And the promised destination of the Exodus from Egypt, the land that remains just beyond the horizon of this book. Now, the culmination of this narrative in the Sinai Epiphany will make the mountain itself incandescent and rake the sky around its summit with divine fire. Exodus 1:8. And a new king rose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Well, Joseph's been dead for 400 years. So this new king, the new Pharaoh, does not know Joseph. We do not know which Pharaoh. He too is nameless. And we're about to meet the man through whose eyes this story will now be told, Moses, an Egyptian term meaning son. We are actually never told Moses' real name. Now, how ironic that the book of names leaves out names. We never learn Moses' name because Moses is me, is you. Is any of us, is all of us, drawn from the waters of life? We never learn Pharaoh's name because he is our individual fears that keeps us a prisoner. And the name of my Pharaoh is not the name of yours or yours or yours. Exodus 2:2. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw that he was goodly. And she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took a wicker ark for him. Now, as the bee likes to point out, the basket in which the infant is placed is called the tavah, an ark. Now, it's the same word used for Noah's Ark. It's the only 2 times in the Bible that the same word is used, Moses and Noah. And she caulked it with resin and pitch and placed the child in it and placed it in the reeds by the banks of the Nile. We now have the birth of the hero. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, carry away this child and suckle him for me, and I myself will pay your wages. And the woman took the child and suckled him, and the child grew. Now, the verb that's used here, grew, in the Hebrew, clearly indicates his reaching the age of weaning, which would have been around 3. Now, wouldn't he have had a name for those 3 years? What did his mother call him? You boy? I don't think so. And she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became a son to her. Now, the term became a son to her, it's a phrase that indicates adoption, not just emotional attachment. And she called his name Moses, for from the water I drew him out. Moses. Now, this is a real Egyptian name, meaning the one who is born, or true son, and it's often used in Pharaoh names to establish legitimacy. Moses, real son. Now, the folk etymology, of course, relates it to the Hebrew verb mashah, to draw out from the water. But friends, most scholars now consider that to be quite a stretch. Never mind the fact that the Egyptian princess would not know any Hebrew words. Now, we know the story. This new prince grows up, he kills an Egyptian, he flees, he performs the betrothal ritual, and he becomes a shepherd. Exodus 2:34. And God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God saw the Israelites, and God knew. God promised he would lead the people down to Egypt, and he would personally lead them out. Perhaps what he knew was that the time had now come. Promises made, promises kept. Moses takes the herd he is shepherding to Horeb, also known as Sinai, and he notices something. Exodus 3:2. And the Lord's messenger appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of the bush, and he saw, and look, the bush was burning with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here I am. The double name calling, life-defining moment that we've seen before. Exodus 3:13. And Moses said to God, look, when I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Vayomer Elohim el Moshe. And God said to Moses, Eyeh asher eyeh, I will be who I will be. Vayomer Ketomar Libne Yisrael Eyash Shalacheni Alechem. And he said, thus you shall say to the Israelites, Eyeh, I am, has sent me to you. God has given his name. Rivers of ink have been spread analyzing this name, and the most common translation of it has become I am that I am, although it's actually I will be. I know you're thinking, but that's not the Yud He Vav He Yahweh we all know. No, it's not. See, God introduces himself in the first person singular. Eyeh, I am. The name we use is the third person singular. See, God's name is a verb, a third person singular verb. Yahweh, he will be. Friends, we all have a name. Like the pine trees lining the winding road, I've got a name. I got a name. Like the singing bird and the croaking toad, I got a name. I got a name. And I carry it with me like my daddy did. But I'm living the dream that he kept hid. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. Now God's name will endure forever. Exodus 3:15. That is my name forever. We've been given it. That's what it is. Yes, the world is sacred, and so is everything in it. Express your gratitude. Light a candle. Make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Now share your feelings with them, friends. Live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, and be blessed. Share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone. And end to terror and hatred. Remember, we are a community, my friends. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. So let's send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. And please do. Learn to forgive and learn to love, including yourself. Open your hearts and honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have and enjoy the journey, because we take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Now bless you all. Have a fantastic week, a week of love and light, a week of peace, a week of miracles. Examine your intentions and use them to imprint your will on the universe, because we set in motion all that happens in our lives. Our intention, our kavana, our cause, our effect, everything is linked. As I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You have the knowledge of what is good and bad. So acknowledge what you have done wrong to yourself, to God, and to any person you've wronged. And ask forgiveness, but do so with sincerity, with accountability, and vulnerability. Forgive those who've hurt you, as you learn to be forgiving and compassionate, because the secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace, my friends, is in acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people, the world just as they are? Can you accept life just as it is without trying to control it? If you do, you can experience the peace that acceptance brings. So do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land, your home. Keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching, keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear, follow love. It's always in front of you. And remember to have faith and unwavering adherence to principle. Just as I have faith in the principle of love in all of you, act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none, defraud none, hate none, cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all people know peace this year. And may you nurture kindness and love everywhere you go. And work to be present in the body. Expand your heart, quiet the mind, because the deepest source of real power, my friends, lies in your consciousness and your ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. Make the most of your time in this life. Continue to touch and transform lives around you, because you're never alone. You're forever blessed, and you have the ability to bring blessings to everybody you meet. Health, love, renewal to everybody you come across. We're all energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Friends, your words are the power to transform, to love, to bless. So be generous with them. Bless others and bless yourself, and love with the heart. We're all part of a greater whole. Embrace love, not fear, forgiveness, not anger. Be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you, whether you know it or not. And continue to explore whatever your belief of faith is, and never accept shame as a natural state, whatever you feel others have felt. Whatever you've experienced, others have experienced. We share together. We learn together, and we help each other. We are each of us trying to find love, acceptance, and support. We all have or could have that special someone in our lives. So find them and tell them what they mean. And remember, you're never alone on your journey to your promised land. You are being watched out for. So always be kind. Keep forgiving those you need to forgive, and keep asking forgiveness from those you need to ask forgiveness of. Do not get caught in fear. Forgiveness comes from acceptance, and that brings peace. And peace, my friends, can last forever. Now, may all your hopes and dreams and wishes come true. And I want you to remember the words of the great poet Robbie Burns in his poem About Days Gone By, a poem that symbolizes reunion, not parting. For my dear young friend Sky, who has the voice of an angel. Should old acquaintance be forgot, never brought to mind, should old acquaintance be forgot, and old lang syne, for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness, yeah, for old lang syne. The great Robbie Burns. For Days Gone By, my friends, a wonderful year to each and every one of you and everybody you touch. And have an awesome year, Baruch Va'elka. It's a special year for you both, and I hope I'm blessed enough to be able to share it with you. Shabbat Shalom and blessings to you all. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. Bye.